keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. And Alex, we have an absolutely full docket, as you can see. This is going to be crazy. We have big news coming out about Jimmy G's thumb and lots of other stuff as well. We got updates on a lot of other injured players as well. As we build closer to this Texans game, but now Jimmy G being the main topic of conversation.
Now the central focus, the central storyline and the focal point of this game. I mean, it was always going to kind of be the case. Jimmy G is, the most polarizing, most talked about thing in San Francisco with the 49ers at this point in time. Shockingly, surprisingly, and that's what's going on. Right. But yeah, this thumb issue now and what he's dealing with and what's going on there. Is he the best option at quarterback? Is he healthy enough to go? All those questions are now going to be asked. And what doesn't make this any better, right, is you have conflicting stories and reports coming out about what he's actually dealing with. You have Schefter reporting this thing as a fracture and a torn ligament in his thumb. You have, I think it was Mayoko reporting it as a bone chip in the thumb as well as a torn UCL. And you have Kyle Shanahan referring to it as a sprain, which for everyone out there going, Kyle's lying. He's got two people saying he's torn something. A sprain can be a tear. A grade 2, grade 3 sprains tend to be tears of ligaments in body parts. So, Kyle referring to it as sprain is not false. It would be accurate, especially if something is torn. He's just not giving the designation of what it is. The real question just becomes, is there any structural damage, right? Is there any bone damage? Is there a fracture? Is there a bone chip? Kyle said that there was not in the press conference, and Kyle Shanahan is not known to lie about these kinds of things. So if that's the case, then you got Schefter and Mayoko dealing with faulty information in terms of severity of the injury, and that really does leave Jimmy's status up in the air, because if it's just a torn ligament in the thumb, there is a chance that he could play through it. The question is just how effective will it be?
There are so many layers to this conversation overall. Number one, I'm not so worried about if Kyle Shanahan is lying or not. I know a lot of people are worried about whether Kyle Shanahan is lying. I think the only thing you can say about that is whether it's the fracture or not, because me and you both agree that Kyle Shanahan could be referring to it as a sprain. That will downplay it as far as, the way they're approaching it, and that's what you tell the media. And then, of course, Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all those media members want it to sound the worst that it could possibly be, so that it will be a tear to them. But both are completely accurate and the same thing. I think that's what we're dealing with. It is a slight tear of the UCL. Whether he needs surgery or not is the big story. If he needs surgery, he will be out 5 to 6 weeks, which means more than likely his career as a San Francisco 49er has officially come to an end. That is unfortunate that it ends this way, right? But one thing I will say is, even with a torn ligament in his throwing thumb, he did lead a game-tying drive against the Tennessee Titans. That is impressive. Another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, Alex, there's so many layers to this, is people pointing out that in the press conference, he wasn't favoring his thumb. He even opened up a bottle of water using said thumb. As someone who has torn a ligament in a finger and a pinky, it feels a lot like a jam initially. It feels like you've jammed it. I was able to use it initially. It didn't swell profusely until later. So I think it's crazy that people are kind of breaking this down, but I want you to kind of give an idea of, do you think that this is something that the 49ers are doing to get Jimmy Garoppolo off the field, but protect his trade value, that they actually want to go turn to the young kid, but they know they have to go the injury route? Do you think there's more layers to this than just Jimmy Garoppolo has a injured UCL and he's going to be out? Or do you think that this is actually just Kyle Shanahan making sure a quarterback is always injured so he doesn't have to make a decision to start Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Hell to the his nah, and there is no layers to this. There is no conspiracy brewing. Anyone talking about how a torn ligament in his thumb, if you tore it, you can't open a bottle of water. as we refer to it so nicely on Patreon, and you're being a taff. You need to stop what you're doing right now. You don't understand athletes. You don't understand football. You don't understand what they're doing.
Wouldn't he favor it, though, Alex? Wouldn't he favor his thumb? Maybe open it with a different hand.
I'm going to say no, because it's tightness, right? It feels like tightness. It feels uncomfortable. Maybe he may do something different. Maybe he doesn't put as much pressure with his thumb.
100%, it feels like you jammed it.
So this is what I mean. As someone who tore ligaments in his ankle, if you're stabilizing cord ligaments in my senior year of high school playing sports, and you got 6 on each side, right? 3 and 3 on each side of each ankle. I tore over 50% on both legs and played through both, didn't get surgery. You can still function. You can still do stuff. It really depends on pain tolerance, right? Pain tolerance is going to be the thing. And everyone's different when it comes to pain tolerance. Some people's pain tolerance is ridiculously high. You don't notice stuff like that. It doesn't actually affect or inhibit your ability to do normal things, normal day activities. Like me, when I tore mine, it didn't affect my ability to run, but it did affect my ability to walk. So within 2 weeks of me tearing up my ankles on both sides, and I was back playing basketball, even though I was told, 4 to 6 weeks, I was running and was fine. Anytime I walked, there was severe amounts of pain and discomfort. It didn't feel great moving in slow motion, but moving fast, it wasn't there. The adrenaline kicked in and everything else. So there is a really, really good chance that Jimmy Garoppolo can do all the normal things that he needs to do in his daily life and routine, even throwing the football. It just may be right at times. He doesn't have the grip that he normally would have, the strength. Things come off a little funky and wonky. I know he couldn't throw in practice yesterday, but there's a lot of time still with this. And the real question just becomes is how severe is it, right? How severe is the damage and what that means and what that threshold is for him, that he can push through. But no, people, I am not in this boat that there is some sort of grand conspiracy. I'm also not in this boat that he would be unable to do simple daily activities and like opening bottles or writing or grasping a pen or taking notes or, giving the old thumbs up to coach that he's good to go. I don't think any of those things are reality. Again, this is people trying to make excuses. These are also the same people who probably want to pin all of this on Kyle Shanahan to begin with, why this team is in the position they're currently in. You haven't played Trey. Now you have to go to you want to go to Trey, but you don't want to blame Jimmy because of trade value. But coming out with an injury about Jimmy Garoppolo would impact his trade value, seeing as the narrative around Jimmy Garoppolo is he can't stay healthy, isn't it? Isn't that the narrative?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether there's a huge value in lying about this possible injury or at least making it seem worse than it is just to get Jimmy Garoppolo off the field. Number one, you have to have Jimmy, he would have to be in on this. He would have to go along with it. And also the locker room would have to buy into this, right? Because if Jimmy Garoppolo is sitting there and he tells the rest of his team, no, I'm healthy, you're still going to have the problem with the locker room. It would have had to been a decisive decision by Kyle Shanahan. He would have had to go to the locker room and say, look, at this time, guys, I feel the way that Trey Lance has looked in practice, Trey Lance is the better option for us in the future. That's the only way the locker room buys in. They're not going to buy into a fake injury narrative because Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to sit by as an 8-year veteran and let them completely push him around. He's not a rookie. That's not going to happen. There's a play in the game where you see him get thrown down. You see him talking to Tom Compton after the play. Kyle Juszczyk said that Jimmy Garoppolo told him during the game that he had hurt his thumb. Now, one of the big things that has gone on is that people are saying Kyle Shanahan should have divulged this information in the post-game press conference because Jimmy told him he was having some problems with his thumb. What I will say to that is Jimmy Garoppolo is a tough guy, and what level of explanation he gave to Kyle Shanahan, he could have said, I jammed my thumb. And if you jam your thumb, that's how it feels when you do stuff like this. Sometimes it feels like it's been jammed. Kyle Shanahan may not have felt that it was necessary to divulge because it's a jam. If he thought it was a tear or a sprain or something, he would have felt it was necessary. He did not, however, feel it was necessary at the time. Do you think there's anything to that? I don't, however, think there's anything to that. I think that's what happened. He said, hey, I hurt my thumb. He didn't think it was anything over the top. He felt like he could still play, so Kyle Shanahan was ready to roll with him because he still felt at the time even a Jimmy Garoppolo that's banged up is still doing enough. He only threw 9 incomplete passes in the game. He's still doing enough to win the football game, and you're going to roll with him. You don't have Trey completely prepared for that game plan against that team, so Jimmy's the best option. You stick with it, you try to get through the game, and let all the rest of the cards play as they lie. Is that how you think it went? Or do you think that, Kyle was just waiting and just didn't want to turn to the kid. He was just putting all this hope behind Jimmy because that's all he's got.
No, man, this is 100% what you just said, right? Jimmy, tough guy, leader, not going to make excuses for performance, not going to make excuses for why things are struggling. Kyle probably said something to him like, "Hey, you good? Like, what's going on?" A couple of guys maybe said something. Jimmy's like, "Oh, it just landed on her funny. It's fine. It's probably just a little sprain. I'll be all right. I'm good to go. I can throw the football." And that was the end of the conversation that they had. And they probably didn't revisit it until he came in to practice and was struggling gripping the football and throwing the football. And it's like, "Hey, what's going on here? Let's worry about. Let's talk about this. Let's figure out what's happening." So no, I don't think this was something that needed to be divulged. I don't think they knew anything to divulge. You're coming up on Christmas Day. I mean, these guys they're coming off of a tough loss. You know what Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't want to do, man, is sit down with Coach Shanahan and be like, I really feel like there's something wrong here, and let's get all this evaluated. No, he's in there going, "I'm going to be fine. I landed funny on the ground. I'm going to be A-okay." And like you said, it's one of those things where there's a lot of tightness and it feels stiff and it feels like you don't have the normal amount of flexibility. You're not sitting there going, "Hey, there's something wrong here," because he was able to grip the football, he's able to throw. And like you said, at the end of the game, when you needed him to be dialed in and throw the football well, he did. If anything, that makes me feel better that he has an opportunity to be able to go. The question is just going to be, what is the mobility like? What is the flexibility like? And what is he going to be able to do? And is he going to be able to do it comfortably? If he's not comfortable back there, then by all means, he doesn't give you your best opportunity to win a football game, and you got to roll with the young guy. But they're not going to also divulge now this information and make a decision today. They're not making a decision tomorrow. But this will be a game time decision that is made right before the game, so that the Texans don't know who to prepare for, and they don't know what to prepare for. Is this a Jimmy game plan? Is this a Jimmy-led team? Or is this a Trey Lance-led team? Now, you're not going to get anything from Kyle Shanahan now the rest of the week. He's told everybody what he now knows and what information he now has, and that's all you're getting until there's something to actually update on.
A couple of things. Number one, I am worried about Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback for the 49ers for the rest of the regular season, especially because if he can't, play at the level that he was playing before the Tennessee Titans week, he may not give us our best opportunity to win football games at this point. I don't know how that thumb is going to be. You're right. There's going to be a stiffness. There's going to be some pain when he has to take a snap. Is he going to be able to deal with that? Is he going to have full grip on the ball? Are the elements going to play into that? We don't know what the weather's going to be like in San Francisco when they play against the Houston Texans. Could there be a possibility if there's rain? If there is, that could play into it in that regard as well. And I will say too, Alex, you're right talking about the fact Kyle Shanahan is not going to give it away. However, if for any reasons Jimmy Garoppolo has to have season-ending thumb surgery, then 100% that will be divulged. That will get out there, and then everyone will know it's Trey Lance. Now, don't get it mistaken, though. In that locker room, amongst that team, they're all going to know who the starting quarterback is going to be moving forward. They're going to reevaluate this on Wednesday, where the team doctors are going to look at Jimmy again and kind of figure out whether they believe he's going to be able to go or not. But Kyle Shanahan's going to be putting together a game plan to beat the Houston Texans. And it could be a game plan that is with Trey Lance leading the charge, which would be his second official start of the season. He had the first start against the Arizona Cardinals. There was ups, there was downs. I know I was rolling with the young kid. I was, excited about the plays that he was making, but there was a lot of criticism too about the way that Kyle Shanahan went around that game plan, where he used Trey's legs to the utmost that he could possibly use it in that game, and ultimately they weren't able to knock off the then surging red-hot Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is a different matchup against the Houston Texans. It's a different type of lineup, a different type of defense that they're going to be going against. Do you think that Trey Lance is more capable, more ready, and do you think Kyle Shanahan is going to be using a different game plan to go against this Houston Texans team if Trey Lance is anointed as a starting quarterback because of Jimmy Garoppolo's thumb?
So first off, as we always talk about, right, styles make fights, and every game plans change and differ in terms of what you want to do and how you're going to attack a team. So Trey Lance is far removed from that game. We've heard Kyle talk about the great weeks of practice he's strung together. We've also heard him talk about the bad practices that he's had and the bad moments that he has, like all players have. Both in the practice facility, probably watching film, diagnosing, recognizing things. So will the game plan be different? 100% yes. I expect there to be more opportunities for Trey Lance to be able to throw the football. Maybe less of him running the ball in certain situations. but it's one of his best strengths. So if you also think that Kyle Shanahan isn't going to utilize those things and put Trey in positions to make choices of whether or not he's running or not, then you're fooling yourself. We'll go back and watch Trey Lance film from college. One of his best attributes is his ability to run the football and keep teams honest and pick up 4 or 5 yards at a time, like a bruising physical runner. It's not a recipe for long-term success. So if you have a situation where you have short yardage situations, a lot of third downs and shorts and things of that nature, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey Lance running the football a little bit more, or putting him in situations where you got Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, and Elijah Mitchell in the backfield altogether and at a gun, and really stretching teams to the limit in terms of where are they going with the football, where are they attacking, and what are they going to do. That being said, I do worry about Trey, this being a game that he starts. Everyone's been talking about how this Texan game is no walk in the park. Well, part of the reason this Texan game is no walk in the park is because they've won their last 2 games very handily against young quarterbacks, and very, very young quarterbacks in this league, whether that's Trevor Lawrence or whether that's Justin Herbert. These are guys who don't have a lot of experience in the league. They have some starts under their belt, but not a bunch. And they can be exploited by a team that has veteran presence, veteran talent, understands how to take away his strength, how to make a young guy, take away his strengths, make him play to his weaknesses and see if he can beat you with those things. So the Texans, if Trey Lance is on the field, I think the Texans feel like they have a much better opportunity against a young, inexperienced quarterback than they would maybe necessarily against a Jimmy Garoppolo. However, for the 49ers, is that catch-22. If Jimmy's not healthy, it's not the best option for you. You have to go with the kid who can definitely stretch the ball down the field, hopefully can make the throws you need him to make, and can avoid the turnovers and the mistakes, which Trey has shown he can do. He definitely can do those things, but sometimes things get away from guys. Shockingly, Ant, these guys are human beings. They're prone to errors, and they're prone to missing guys that are open and missing throws. So, look, if Jimmy's not healthy, Trey is the option. And this is why you moved up in the draft to draft him here, is because with Trey on the field, you feel there is a chance. It's not like when you're putting Nick Mullins back there and you feel like, hey, this could go either okay or absolutely horrendous. You feel like with Trey Lance right now that there's an opportunity for greatness, and that even when things are bad, his arm talent alone in and of itself can get you back into a football game with one throw. This is why you made this move, in case something happened to Jimmy, and we may be finding ourselves in that situation now.
Yeah, I want to see how he's improved as far as, rhythm throws. When that back foot hits, is he ready to release the ball and get the ball out into these, playmakers' hands? Something that Jimmy Garoppolo does on the regular, and something that he does without them having to slow down. Trey Lance is going to change fundamentally the way the run game is going to be used for the 49ers, because now you can play more of a 11-on-11 style. So you want to bring an extra guy up into the box, that's fine. Now you have to account for Trey Lance in the run game. That's why it's going to be so pivotal that Kyle Shanahan isn't afraid to use Trey Lance in the run game. Now, once again, you need to unlock the RPOs. The RPOs have been working over the last few weeks because they're able to move linebackers and then take advantage of it. That's something that Trey Lance can do as well. So the avenue for which you'll be attacking these defenses is pretty defined by who's playing quarterback. You're going to have to use Trey Lance's strengths to your best way, the best way possible, and that's taking advantage of his legs, taking advantage of the things that he did well in college, but also taking advantage of the improvements we know he's made because Kyle Shanahan and the other teammates have talked about him. At this point, with the injury, we've been saying this from the beginning. Whoever gives the 49ers the best opportunity to win the football game will be the starting quarterback. If Jimmy Garoppolo is attempting to play and Kyle Shanahan believes that Trey Lance gives them the best opportunity to play or to win, then Trey Lance will be that starting quarterback. No matter who is under center when we get to the game, I will be rooting for them to do very well, whether that's Jimmy Garoppolo nursing the thumb, or if it's Trey Lance going for broke, trying to win some playoff games. I'm going to be behind him. But I am curious to see how they end up attacking, how many strides Trey Lance has made if he is the starting quarterback, and where the 49ers sit, because this will turn, the 49ers playoff hopes and strides upside down, because it's a different animal playing with a rookie quarterback like Trey Lance with a different type of skill set than Jimmy Garoppolo. We could see, a situation where it's like 2012, where all of a sudden it's to the moon, just like the 49ers were with Colin Kaepernick, and this offense just takes off in a big way. Or it could take a step back. We have no idea exactly what we're going to see. The one thing we do know is things just got a little bit more interesting, and there was no way I thought it was going to get more interesting after the Titans game and what happened on 49ers Twitter shortly after that.
100%. And you can't leave out the other alternative either, which is nothing changes, right? There is an opportunity and the possibility that Trey Lance comes in and the offense operates at a similar clip to what it was operating at with Jimmy Garoppolo, especially if Trey's not coming out and making mistakes, especially if the Niners or if Trey Lance's insertion into the offense opens up the run game in a different way. And it makes teams have to play that more 11-on-11 style of football. And that, opens up huge opportunities in the run game for things that also would, allow the Niners to control the time of possession, eliminate the need for Trey Lance to have to continually make big throws in big situations, and really allow him to get into an established rhythm, right? Give Kyle Shanahan plenty of chances and opportunities to, even when Trey maybe is errant or misses some things, come back to the sideline, have a conversation. Here's what we're going to do on the next drive. Let's get you some rhythm stuff and get you going and get you feeling like, you're understanding what you're seeing and, get that confidence up, and then, be able to get rolling offensively and have them complete and put together and string together some impressive drives. So I have faith. I have complete faith. You and I both know this, and we've been saying this, and you've already brought it up. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is for the 49ers. That's the guy we're rolling with. Kyle Shanahan is going to put this team in the best possible position and to win football games and make the playoffs. And if Jimmy isn't that guy right now and isn't the answer because he's not healthy, then Trey is going to get his opportunity to show why we moved up in the draft to go get him. And none of us want anything but success for Trey Lance. You'd be a fool to not want that. You want Trey Lance to succeed. You want him to take this offense to the moon. But I am going to curtail expectations and let this kid have an opportunity to go out and make mistakes because he's a rookie and he's going to make them. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally fine with him making mistakes. Let's just make sure there are improvements upon previous mistakes that we've already seen him make.
The good news is I think Kyle Shanahan should just go to Trey Lance and be like, dude, look, nobody's going to hold anything that happens to you in these games against you. They're going to hold them against me. That's how it's going to be. No one is going to blame Trey Lance for anything that happens in these football games, whether he turns the ball over or not. Alex, no one's going to say Trey Lance should have known better. Trey Lance should have made that play. They're going to say, no, Kyle Shanahan should have played you earlier, and then we would have gotten this situation. You would already know what to do. I'm hoping that is a good thing that will take the pressure off Trey Lance. It's like, dude, just go 100%. Up there, play your game, go play free. You've been learning, you understand where to go now. You've seen Jimmy Garoppolo go through the ups and downs of the season. You've seen how he handled these situations. Now go out there and do it. It's going to be an interesting end of the season. I wasn't expecting there to be an injury here to Jimmy Garoppolo. Even though he has been injury prone, it seemed like, he was going to make it through the rest of the season. He was going to make it through this push. And then we were going to, find out what was going to happen during the offseason. But, the drama fairy wanted to put a little bit more on it. We needed something else to happen in Twitter, as the Joker would say, and here we go. And with one single tweet from Adam Schefter, the world has twisted upside down, and the 49ers are back in the midst of all the questions and all the question marks, and they're right in the middle of the playoff hunt. So we're going to get a Trey Lance, and now we're not going to maybe have a Wishnowsky. Because Mitch Wishnowsky is on the COVID list. Now, they are hopeful because he has obviously been vaccinated because they said 2 negative tests and he would clear the COVID-19 protocols. It appears that they are hopeful for that. Kyle Shanahan said he's still hopeful that he will be able to play on Sunday. But how big of a loss would it be for the 49ers to not have Mitch Wishnowsky?
Big. It'd be huge. And anyone who's saying anything else other than good, we need to get rid of him. What other option is out there that is going to be better than Mitch Wishnowsky right now? That person doesn't exist. So you're going to be getting
the punter that used to punt for the Raiders.
Marquette King.
Yeah, there you go. That's the only guy I can think of. I don't even know. I can't think of any other punters.
That's the only guy that I know of on the market with a cannon, but he hasn't played in a handful of years. So how ready is he?
He's ready.
I bet you he is too. Marquette seems like that kind of dude. He just seems like he's ready to go and itching to go, in all honesty. Look, I at the end of the day, the Mitch Wishnowsky thing is unfortunate because it's just one more headache and one more thing that you have to now focus on and deal with as a head coach. That's an extra distraction, let's say, and we'll go with that. It's not like a huge distraction, but it is something that you have to monitor, and it's something you have to have a backup plan for, and you have to be ready to execute it at the drop of a dime. Because, if you wait all the way until Saturday to make a decision on this or pull the trigger, you could be in a situation where you you're rolling with maybe not the best option, especially with there being, I believe on Monday, there were, I think 96 players that tested positive. So of the 96 players that tested positive, I don't know how many of them were punters, but you got to expect it could hit a couple other teams, and a couple other teams may pull the trigger fast on some special teams guys and some punters. So if you're the 49ers, you can't wait too long to make a decision in terms of bringing another guy in. We'll see what they do today, and we'll see if there's any names that pop up on the list.
Yeah, I look for them to sign at least one punter to the practice squad. I look for them to bring someone in, and maybe a Marquette King would make a lot of sense. You don't want to lose Wisnowski, but I will say this, Alex, at least it came into a room where there's not a lot of people in the meetings, because Wisnowski's probably not around a lot of people's, right? You don't want this to be like the quarterback room where you would have lost Jimmy, Sudfeld, and Trey possibly, or a running back room where you lose all those guys when they're in the individual meetings. This seems to be the trend that has happened around the league where it takes out entire rooms. So if you're telling me that all we're going to lose is a punter, I'm optimistic overall that we're going to get through this. The fact that he's been vaccinated, he's probably going to get through these protocols in time as long as we get 2 negative tests. I'm at least hopeful. The 49ers haven't had to deal with this at all this entire season. We're finally getting our first glimpse of it. If it can just be this, I think we can get through it. Is it a good scenario? No, because we need our punter to do a great job against Houston Texans. We need to be able to win the field position battles. But you know what? If it's going to happen to a position, I guess this is one of the better ones. At least it's not, the place kicker. We've already been through that fiasco. We don't want to go through that again. But just another thing that we're having to deal with along the way, because, it's not going to be smooth sailing for the 49ers to get into the playoffs. There's going to be some sort of obstacles that they have to overcome. Nothing's ever easy.
And the best things in life, aren't supposed to be, right? The things that you want most and the things that are always worth it typically tend to be a little bit more difficult because they're things that a lot of people want
for free.
I feel like that's a misleading statement. I'm not gonna lie to you. But look, we also had Tyrone Adams was signed to the practice squad. And that is not a shock at all because he's been on the active roster for the 49ers. And I know people were upset when they had to let him go and do all of that fun stuff to make roster moves and make space for him. But he's on the practice squad now, re-signed. And Azeez Al Shaair, I almost said Al Jalari, and Azeez Al Shaair is looking like he's dealing with both Azizes. But it looks like he's going to be out for the remainder of the regular season, dealing with a knee sprain. Concerned about that.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the run defense. I 100% am. You're going to be talking about Marcel Harris and Flanagan Fowles now being those guys in base sets. I watched a lot of the Houston Texans game last week, and Houston was able to run the football, and they were able to do it very well. One of the reasons the 49ers run defense was so good against the Tennessee Titans was Fred Warner and Azeez really were flashing and flying around and making a lot of big plays. Once Azeez was out, the defense changes a little bit. You don't have that hammer in the run game like you do when he's there. He takes some of the pressure off Fred. They have to account for him, and it allows Fred to kind of flow a little bit easier. We've been talking about this. Is before Azeez was really flashing and stuff, it was always Dre Greenlaw that helped Fred out. It's all about your teammates. It's all about these guys helping you out. And with Dre Greenlaw not being out there, you have some questions. Now you're talking about Marcel Harris and Flanagan Fowles. I have more questions about them as we go against the Houston Texans. Can the 49ers get it done with that group? Yes. The reason I can say that because I've actually seen them do it. They've had to do it already. They can overcome because this 49ers defensive line has been studying it up in the run game. But it will definitely make it a lot more difficult than it would be with Azeez out there. Because with Azeez out there, it's definitely a lot easier.
Let's not also forget, Ant, the impact that the toll that it takes on our special teams unit when Marcel Harris and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles aren't out there. This is not a team that operates the same. The special teams unit does not operate the same on kick coverage, punt return, punt coverage. It's just not. It's not the same group. They don't play the same. They don't execute the same. There's mistakes. There's errors. There's lapses. And the Texans had a big kickoff return for a touchdown just a few weeks ago. This is a team that can, dial it up with the special teams and execute and take one to the house. So not having those guys out there, having them be starters on your defense and focus there takes away from your special teams unit and makes your group a little bit weaker. And for some reason, the Niners don't want to just kick the ball out of the end zone. So you have to think about that and the impact that could potentially have on the game.
Well, they might not be able to. Mitch Wisnowski is the guy that usually kicks the ball out of the end zone.
True.
And if Mitch Wisnowski is going to be on the COVID list and not able to play, then you're going to have directional kicks coming from Robbie Gould. He just doesn't have the leg anymore to consistently get the ball out of the end zone. So then you're right. That could be huge where these guys aren't playing. You might ask them to play double duty because you don't have the special teams. You got 2 games left. You can't hold anything back. You've got playoff situations now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this and how they handle this. But that could also be a reason why you do go out and sign someone with a strong leg, like Marquette King, because he can kick it straight out of the end zone guaranteed. The guy's got an absolute cannon for a leg. So those are situations that we're going to get into. But all of it, kind of plays a part into how this team is going to have to play against the Houston Texans as complementary football. The 49ers have to play as a complete team. And if they don't, they run the possibility of getting defeated. Even though Houston has been down, Houston has been playing better as of late. They got the young quarterback that's playing well, and they're probably going to get a lot of players off the COVID list that they had on last week, even when they won, including one Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, and Brandon Cooks is a problem, and I don't want to – let's not go there. Let's not go there with Brandon Cooks right now. Thinking about that on top of everything else that we already are worrying about and thinking about with this team, and is just not something you want to have to do. But I guess there's some good news, right? Elijah Mitchell is back. He's back in practice. He's doing some things. Dre Greenlaw also on a side field. There's hope there. I don't know if we'll see him. I think we both thought if we saw Dre Greenlaw again in the regular season, it would be week 18. With Azeez out, do you think there is maybe not a push, but maybe a sense of urgency to really test him and see if Greenlaw can be back in this fold and back with this group?
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see Greenlaw this week. I think in a perfect world, they would love to have Greenlaw. They'd love to have Emmanuel Mosley, who are both getting work on side fields. But I just don't see it happening. And I think they're so worried about losing Dre for a possible playoff run. I mean, that would be the time you'd really want him the most. You got, the Los Angeles Rams in a couple weeks that are going to be without Henderson. He's going to be out with the sprained MCL. I know they're bringing Akers back, but you're coming back from a Achilles. You're just not going to have the same explosiveness. So you're going to go into that Rams game and you're going to be going against pretty much Sony Michel. So you might be able to get by, especially if they win the West. You might not need Dre Greenlaw. You might have that extra week to be able to rest him, rest Emmanuel Mosley, and then suit up for that wild card round where you go all in with all your talent all at once. So I think they're going to be careful. They know they need to win this football game. Winning the Houston Texans football game is absolutely mandatory for their playoff hopes. But I don't think they're going to risk losing Dre Greenlaw for a possible playoff run just because Azeez is out. Because I do believe they think they can overcome the loss of Azeez because they've been playing so well without these linebackers all season long.
I agree with you there. I think you don't risk it, especially if you don't have to. And I think, again, this is a game that, yes, the Texans are playing good football right now. But part of it has been the establishment of the run game. And what has Marcel Harris and Demetrius Flanagan foul showed the last few weeks that they've been asked to step up and play a major role, they can get it done. They can get it done in the run game. They can get it done and step up in a big way. The Titans' run game was nothing formidable this past weekend, and when Azeez went out, that run game didn't magically become dominant and amazing. So yes, I believe they can get it done without Greenlaw out there. We'll see what happens. I don't expect him to be back in any sort of capacity this week. I think if they can get him back for that Rams game, maybe even if it's on a limited basis and just get some of that rust off and let him get out there and run a little bit, they'll try to. But we'll see what happens. But I think the big add for the 49ers this week is Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell being back in the fold, having him in that run game, being able to have a two-headed monster back there with him and Jeff Wilson rather than just one guy is a huge get and a huge plus for the 49ers. Because it allows Deebo Samuel, again, to be even more versatile. You don't have to go back there and hand him the ball 5 times, 6 times, 8 times to, take some of the load off of Jeff Wilson Jr. Now you have him and Elijah Mitchell that can kind of duel it out. And now when Deebo is back there, it's going to make everyone think, right, run. And now you can set up situations potentially where you can pass off of that and create some big plays. And we'll see, because if Trey is the guy that's back there operating as well, just Trey and Deebo back there is going to cause a lot of problems for football teams.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell is going to take a lot of pressure off of Trey Lance, especially because they can get this run game going. And that'll take pressure off Deebo Samuel because he won't have to be as prevalent in the run game. Kyle Shanahan won't have to use him as much as he normally has been. Since Elijah's been out, he'll be able to use him more sparingly. And that'll take a lot of the pressure off of Deebo Samuel to perform in a dual threat role. You do want Deebo Samuel to have the ball in his hands as many times as possible, though, because he is your biggest weapon. He has proven that he's the one guy that defenses haven't been able to take away. The way that you can use him all over the place is just well beyond what anyone else on the team can do. Now, Elijah Mitchell will also give you tough, gritty yards. He has great vision. He's able to get inside these little holes that most running backs are afraid to go through. And that will also spell Jeff Wilson. So now you'll get a better version of Jeff Wilson, where you'll get 5 to 8 carries from Jeff Wilson Jr. that are going to be tough running, tough short yardage situations where he can take some of the the oomph out of the defense by pounding it in there. Those are things that we've missed as he's having to take multiple carries. But I think you'll see the run game take another route. Also, you bring back the outside pitch. The outside toss play will be there with Elijah Mitchell. The outside zone will be there as well. And the Houston Texans do have some holes there where the 49ers can be able to attack. So I look for the running game to take a step forward. You throw in the mix possibly a Trey Lance at quarterback, where now he's going to be freezing a linebacker, freezing an end, or a safety, depending on what the read is. And all of a sudden now it could be huge lanes for Elijah Mitchell. We might actually get to see some of that whole shot potential where you got a guy who's ran a 4.3, who I believe probably runs like a 4.4 now, but some big gashing runs that you're going to get a lot more from Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel than you will a Jeff Wilson Jr., who is a step slow, especially coming from off the meniscus tear.
100%. He's definitely a step slower. And yeah, Trey Lance could definitely interject, I don't want to say life into the run game because it's not life, but what he will inject is more one-on-one opportunities and
diversity.
Potentially just, diversity. Diversity is the best way to put it. Different ways to attack with the run game, more creative ways to attack with the run game, as well as a lot more things to prepare for in the run game, which is not necessarily easy. And, we can't forget the fact that, the New Orleans Saints, dealing with all the stuff that they're dealing with, dropping their game Monday night to Miami Dolphins, really does keep this path now completely in a situation where the Niners are in complete control, because you now control your own destiny. You win 2 and you're in. That's all you have to do. You win 2 games and you're going to the playoffs. You don't have to worry about tiebreakers. You don't need to worry about, a 3-way tie scenario. The Miami Dolphins took care of business against the New Orleans Saints on Monday night. So now if you're the 49ers, you have one goal in mind right now, and that is taking care of the Houston Texans. And then once you do that, you can turn your attention to the Rams, do the same exact thing, rinse and repeat, get yourself to 10 wins and get yourself into the playoffs and not worry about the rest of it.
No, I mean, it's all about getting there right now. I mean, that's it. You just need to win football games. You need to do whatever you need to do to win. If that means you need to give the ball to Trey Lance more times than you probably would have, you do it. If that means that you need to get the ball to Deebo's hands more times than you normally would, you do it. Whatever you need to do to get to the playoffs, that's all that matters. And then you let that take care of business when you get there. But right now, this team is going to have to rally. This is something this team has done throughout the year. They've come together. They've come together with the moniker, whatever it takes. Right now, it's whatever it takes for you to get into the playoffs. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Is it going to be Trey Lance? No matter who it is, I know I will be rooting for these 49ers to make the playoffs. And no, I'm not getting on board any of the, I don't want them to make it, or I don't care if they don't make it. No, I 100% care if they do make it. I 100% care that they go a long ways in the playoffs. I'm fully behind this roster and fully behind this team. Kyle Shanahan will figure out a way to get it done. If they have a quick exit out of the playoffs, then they have a quick exit, Alex. But I don't know about you, but I think that this roster can and will overcome some of the obstacles along the way. Will they turn it around in the next 2 weeks and prove that they are one of those top 5 to 6 teams in the NFC? I don't know that for sure, but we're going to find out really quick. The Jimmy Garoppolo thing kind of threw me for a swerve, but I am excited about the possibilities of Trey Lance also manning this run game and manning this offense. So I wouldn't mind seeing some of the improvements. There's a lot of people that have been pining for him to be out there without ever seeing him on the field. It'd be nice to kind of see him on the field and seeing that practice reps improvement from Trey Lance.
Oh, man. And don't even get me started with that, because, you and I, the practice reps and the conversations around practice reps, hey, I will be the happiest man in the world if Trey Lance goes out there and absolutely tears it up against the Houston Texans on Sunday. Mm-hmm. There won't be a happier guy in the room, because not only was the plan effective, right, rolling with Jimmy Garoppolo, and then going out and drafting a young quarterback that you knew you could sit and develop and turn to him either A, once he was ready, or B, if something happened to your starter. Not only will the plan have worked, to perfection, the plan will have potentially saved the season for the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo going down now at the end of the season. So We'll see what happens. But Cutback Crew, you let us know what you thought about all of this. The Jimmy news and information. Are you you're done with Jimmy, right? Of course he got hurt. He's going to get hurt. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo does. And now it's time for Trey Lance. We want to hear your comments on that. Are you upset to hear about Wishnowsky on the COVID list and dealing with this situation? Does Azeez being out change your opinion of this defense and what this defense can do? We want to hear about all of it in the comment section down below. So make sure you're commenting away. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be an interesting week of 49ers content as we build towards this Houston Texans game. 49ers in control of their own playoff destiny. Can they get it done against Houston? Can they put the pressure on everyone behind them to win football games? You have the Eagles that are going to be dealing with Miles Sanders having a broken hand. You have the New Orleans Saints still dealing with all the quarterback situations that they're dealing with. Not to mention, Minnesota dealing with just Kirk Cousins being their quarterback and all that situation. So can these other teams, keep track of the 49ers? Can the 49ers put the pressure on them and win in Houston? Do you believe the 49ers can make something happen the rest of the regular season and in the playoffs? I'm curious what everyone thinks.
We want to hear from you, so make sure you're commenting. And Ant-Man, this is going to be an interesting week. Hopefully the Cutback Crew is ready for all the twists and turns that this week is going to have in store, because no one was expecting any more drama. We got some now. We'll see what comes out from today's practice. And until the next one, Cutback Crew of the faithful, stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.